Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at the big ideas for section 6.2. So in this particular section we were looking at transforming distributions. And so what happens when we add or subtract to all the values in a distribution, or what happens when we multiply or divide to all the values in a distribution? Well, this is what happens. First of all, we'll ask that question: how does adding or subtracting the same constant, we'll call it C, the same constant to each value change the distribution? Well, when you add or subtract, the shape of the distribution stays the same. So the shape will not change. The center of the distribution, which would be the mean or the median, will change by that value of C. So if you add 5 to every value, then the mean will get 5 added to it, or the median will get 5 added to it. Same thing for subtraction. So we've talked about the shape and the center. What about the variability? Well, variability does not change at all. It stays the same when you are adding or subtracting a constant to every value in your distribution. So what about when we are multiplying or dividing all the values? So we come to that question. How does multiplying or dividing by the same constant to each value in your distribution, how does it change that distribution? Well, let's start off with the shape. And the shape stays the same. So it doesn't matter if you add, subtract, multiply, or divide, the shape of the distribution is going to stay the same. What about the center of the distribution? Well, the center, whether it's the mean or the median, gets multiplied by that C, or if it's division, it gets divided by whatever that constant C is. So if we multiply all of our values by 3, the mean would then be multiplied by 3, or the median would then be multiplied by 3. And then finally, what about the variability? Well, this one does get affected. So when we add or subtract, the variability does not change. It stays the same. But if we multiply or divide, it does change. And how does it change? Well, let's look specifically at the standard deviation and the variance. Standard deviation will change by that constant. So what we can say is the standard deviation would just then be C times the standard deviation that we originally had. That would be our new standard deviation. But what about variance? Well, we know that variance is the square of standard deviation. So what we need to do is multiply the standard deviation by whatever that value of C is, and then square it. So another way that we could look at this algebraically is we would square C and then also square the standard deviation. So what we need to do with variability when we're multiplying by some kind of constant is we want to make sure that we if it's standard deviation, you can just multiply by whatever that constant is. But if you're talking about the variance, you have to find the standard deviation first by multiplying and then square that standard deviation to get the variance. Because remember, variance is the square of standard deviation. That's all we got for the big ideas in this video. Hopefully this helps you understand, and hopefully you have a great day.